Hi everybody, welcome to Ravensbourne University London and On Air. We've had a marathon few hours here at Ravensbourne. We have been broadcasting around the world. We started at 1 a.m. local time here in London, broadcasting from the TV studio next door, and we have gone from Brisbane to Mumbai. We've dotted around Europe, we've come to the UK. We're going to be going on to South America and finishing up in North America in LA. We are being hosted by the brilliant Ravensbourne University, and we couldn't do this event without bringing back some of its amazing alumni. So I'm really excited to be welcoming everybody this evening. But before we get into the panel, I'd like to introduce you to the Vice-Chancellor of Ravensbourne University, John Kingsbury.
Thanks, Carrie, and good evening, everyone. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you here to Ravensbourne University London for this landmark global event On Air. It's the world's largest student-led live stream broadcast, and it's been an amazing day so far. Still lots of time to go, lots of excitement to see. So, as Carrie said, I'm Vice-Chancellor here at Ravensbourne, and here we really pride ourselves on the way that we learn with industry, ensuring that all of our students gain the experience, the connections and the opportunities to collaborate with industry in really useful and impactful ways. And I think this is a fantastic example of that. So very happy to host On Air and also to welcome some of the alumni back today for the panel session. So look, as Vice-Chancellor, my job mainly is to sort of introduce you, welcome, and then get off and hear some of your amazing stories. So I'm going to do that. But I think just before I do that, I wanted to say that this sort of activity, students working, learning with industry, is incredibly important because right across the creative industries, right across broadcast, film, design, fashion, other creative disciplines, there's an absolute need to develop talent and skills so that when they leave university, they can go straight into industry. They're ready to launch their careers, and industry already know about our graduates. They've already worked with them. And I think that's something that Ravensbourne University really focuses on and specialises in, and that's why we're so very pleased to host On Air today. So that's enough from me, really, and I'm now going to hand you over to Sarah, who's going to introduce some of our amazing alumni. So I hope you have a lovely evening, and for those of you online watching, please stay watching, and you're going to hear some amazing stories. Thanks very much. Cheers.
Thank you for joining me on stage. Oh, that's better, isn't it? Because we are on air. Right, well, look, I've spent the morning on air with students broadcasting from CNN. We started every bulletin that we did with a little bit of this. And action. So, I would like to get started, panel, and thank you for joining me, with a little 30 seconds. I'm being generous. We have 15-minute panels here, where you can just introduce yourself and give us a quick snapshot of your time at Ravensbourne, or one little highlight.
My first.
Go for it.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So, in case it's obvious, I'm Andy Will. Premier League.
Press the mic on.
Oh, I'll turn it on.
Does
that work? Oh, there we go. Can't get the stuff. Brilliant, thank you. Hello everyone, Andy Will. Premier League Studios, an ex-Rave alumni. I wasn't a student in this glorious building next to O2. I was down in Ravensbourne 1.0, and I think the phrase should be a nightclub of ravers. I'll put it out there. You want my memories of Ravensbourne?
Well, or just one standout moment, what it said in
So,
your yearbook.
I mean, Rave was brilliant, and some of my peers are in the room here, and it flew by at 100 miles an hour, and I can't believe how fast it came and started. If I was going to pick a moment there, I talked about this in a Simpty lecture I gave a few years ago, and it kind of talks into what I believe about influencing factors in our careers. And I've been really lucky that I've had some brilliant mentors in my career, formal and informal. And the experience of Ravensbourne was amazing, the facilities were amazing, the community was amazing, but we were lucky to have people teaching us who were so much more than just on-the-book staff lecturers. They were people that passionately cared about investing in us as individuals. And I'll name check one of them, a guy called Roger Conway, who people are nodding in the room, who was a character, to say the least, and very divisive and very Marmite. But, and that was maybe, there's lots of stories there, let's not go there. But the point I'm trying to make is that at his heart, Roger cared so much about the students that we were, and what we were doing. And he gave us experiences and opportunities to grow so much bigger and faster than we ever would have had just inside the college walls. And it might look like exploitation casually to people observing, but I honestly would refute that, because I learned so much from those crazy journeys in the back of a Ferrari up and down the Old Kent Road, the Digibeat that sat on my lap on a Sunday morning, that just set you up for life in this crazy but fantastic industry that we all love working in. And so my experience is really, and there were others, Kim Stillwell, other people, but I can't really credit people like Roger enough for the impact they had on so many. And I would say that you look at that era, there many people in this room who were under Roger's tutelage. So many people owe certainly the start of their careers, to Roger's personal investment in us as individuals. So.
Amazing. You spoke there about kind of what went on behind the closed doors, but Anna, it was closed doors really for you, wasn't it? Do you want to say hello? Mic's on the bottom here.
Thank you. My name is Anna Zolinska. I was a student here from 2018 to 2021, which, if you have a great memory, was pandemic years, unfortunately. Most of the time, my first year was great. Had basic experience with learning everything from the ground, as I came as someone who had absolutely no experience or knowledge about any media whatsoever. So I was truly bringing everything from ground up. And then in the second year, the pandemic hit and everything closed. So how do you learn? You don't. It was very hard, because basically I was confined into my own room, and if you have not much space and you have only Zoom, and if you learn by being in Ravensbourne, and that's a great university because you have hands-on experience. You have studio, you have the gallery, you have the sound mixers, you have all the cameras, all the equipment for engineering, for production, and if suddenly you can't use that, what do you do? You cannot do oscilloscope experience for engineering if you're in your room, and then you can't do FMP for this. It's been very, very hard to try to still stay motivated, to stay on track, and to kind of still have your own sense in the pandemic and kind of keep on going. And later on, when everything kind of opened up, it was still very limited. So my university class had one day to split in two groups to access our class for oscilloscopes, for any kind of engineering experience that we needed to use for our FMPs, which is 6 months of your hard work in the third year. And suddenly you have 1 day or half a day to split with half your class to work on it. And with limited resources on that, it's been difficult, but I managed to pass through it.
Well, great.
And somehow open up to get into the workforce, which I was honestly being scared of, because if you have little experience as it is and then pandemic hits, it doesn't really brings you kind of confidence levels to go into the workforce and apply. And it's like, I know everything, which basically you don't, because your knowledge ended up on the first year and you have basic information, which I can basically say that I'm grateful for support here, for the people who I could access any day in a day, day, nights, doesn't matter the time, and they will do everything for you to basically, for you to succeed. If they can see that you have the willpower, that you want to do it, they will help you. So,
That's
and I'm in a
wonderful
good
to spot
hear.
now. Well, that is wonderful to hear, and obviously the real spirit of Ravensbourne, and as you said there, learning through being, really what today has been all about with On Air. Can I ask you, Stephen, to give us a brief interview, a brief introduction to yourself? You're quite newly graduated as well, aren't you? Oh, we're all still learning to put a microphone on.
Mic check 1 2. Oh, there I am.
Excellent. I like that. I thought that's a good intro. Let's go.
I'm Stephen. I graduated Ravensbourne last year, class of 2024. Boop, boop.
I'm not.
I was on an apprenticeship program, so I had a bit of a different experience from most people that study at Ravensbourne. I spent most of my time in an industry placement at Sky, working as an engineer, and I would be at Ravensbourne for 2 weeks at a time, every 2 or so months, for kind of crash workshops where they would pump us full of as much knowledge as possible, and then send us off into the industry to do our best.
Amazing. And Elaine, finally, you've actually even brought us something from your time at Ravensbourne as well, haven't you? Should we pass the mic? Are we on?
I have.
Oh, have we got one mic?
Okay, I pressed it, honest. So I found this when I happened to be clearing out the loft. This is my graduation from 1990. I look around here, and you are in an absolutely fabulous building in an amazing place. And when I think about the humble beginnings that we had when I was at college, as it was then, it was Ravensbourne College. I was based in Bromley North, in a run-down old school that had a few problems, should we say. I know because a couple of years after I graduated, I believe it then moved over to Chislehurst. But yeah, we had our lessons in porter cabins, but still that enthusiasm, it came through from the lecturers. They were great. They gave us that will to learn. They gave us just enough, just a few hints here or there, and then go away, find it out. They gave us that great attitude, and I think that's what Ravensbourne's really good at.
Good to hear.
We're very creative though, because
Really?
I've got that speaking thing like 7 years later.
Oh, still the same.
Creativity that's part, wasn't it?
Still the same design. Right, so Stephen, can we move on to sort of like leaving Ravensbourne? What advice might you give current students about standing out in the job market?
I think I would say that Ravensbourne has given you a very good foundation in terms of technical knowledge, and when going out, it's just you showing your genuine interest in the areas that do genuinely interest you, and a willingness to learn the areas that possibly don't. Also, it's just as important who you know as what you know. And that can sound very daunting to students who don't think they know anyone in the industry, but if you're here today, then you're surrounded by people in the industry, so speak to someone. Our industry is very small and full of people that are very passionate about what they do, and I promise you, if you grab any broadcast engineer and tell them you're interested in something, they will be happy to nerd out with you about broadcast engineering and give you that leg up that you need to enter the industry.
Great. And can I ask you then, Andy, so what changes you've seen in the industry then since you've graduated? Give us a quick whistle-stop tour. You hinted at it in your introduction.
Technical? Or,
Well, no, but what are some of the things you've done? I never expected that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, when I was Ravensbourne, we get a Tissot machine, which I bet there's not a Tissot machine here. And is there a Tissot machine? There is. He's still working. Adrian can't let go of the past. He's just. So also we've seen, obviously, I mean, unrecognisable technology transformation in those few years since Ravensbourne, and what's really interesting is that the speed of change is just exponential. So it's changing faster than before. So if you look at the change from 4x3 to 6x9, a period of time. If you look at the change from 6x9 to HD, smaller period of time. the change from HD to UHD, smaller still, now we're getting into cloud, we're getting into compute, we're getting into all these other cool things. And so the industry is really rapidly changing. And I think that's what's really a challenge for any academic institution trying to teach relevant skills for media engineering career pathways. For two reasons. One, it's changing so fast. How do you plan a course at least a year, waiting 1 to 2 years, how long you have to do it before you commit to make it relevant at the end of the 3 years of the course, which is basically 5 years on.
Yep.
And also, how do you reach the breadth? Because now there are so many more roles. I mean, when we left, it was either worked in post or you worked in live, and you were either fixing tape machines or edit equipment, or you were out the road plugging up cables and switching things in the back of a truck. And now the range of careers is so broad, from computer science and DevOps, down to still traditional skills. And so I think that's one of the really interesting things. But I think that's which is a great change. I'm really pleased about. But we still have a lot of work to do. Is culturally, not just in terms of the inclusivity. I can agree more. I meet people now all the time. I can't wait to help them share information. I love people who love to talk about what we do. I love to share it with people and don't pull it under arm. We had a great team of volunteers today down in Hackney. They're enthusiastically leading these young people through our workshop, which is brilliant. I just can't wait to share. But that hasn't always been my experience, actually. I had some pretty unpleasant experiences in a couple of workplaces earlier on. Some very old-fashioned, dare I say, old white men who were not only not willing to share really outside the circle, but were actually quite vindictive and nasty to discipline they didn't think would be particularly worthy. That's the right phrase. Edit back to those a hugely technical skill. Meeting was a hugely technical skill, and when it became more democratised and TechOps became a thing, which is still a very worthy craft, I met engineers who were very dismissive of it and downright aggressive towards that kind of skill set. And I'm delighted to say that's changing, and with it, actually demographically, we were all looking like me, white men in my class at Ravensbourne. I think that's probably true the year before. We had one female the year below. And so now seeing the profile becoming more inclusive is really, really a fantastic thing. And we need that. We need diverse thought because we're going to solve these problems in this very complicated new landscape in a very business challenging market. We love it, it's brilliant, love media, and there is money in the market somewhere, but actually if you look at the outlook, there's a lot of companies in trouble. So we need to create really brilliant solutions to solve things and keep moving forward, and we need diverse thinking to do that. So I'm delighted that that's a positive change, and it's very something actually by a lot of diversity. If we'd done this 15 years ago, this would all be white men.
We do, and actually it's great to see so many people here in the audience, and great to see you as well joining us on air, online. I'm going to say it a lot. I feel like I need a noise every time I say it. Whoop, or something like that, or on air, or a clip. I'd like to think about that, the changing industry. We are also rapidly changing panel shortly. So very quickly, please, can I ask you just briefly, Anna, has your career path unfolded the way that you've expected?
Oh no. It went basically in a in a direction that I would never see it, which I would not change it if you ask me now. When I joined Ravensbourne, I wanted to be sound engineer. I had an interest for music, for behind the scenes, and it's still there, but I'm kind of glad that I've got the base of what I could do in Ravensbourne. And then when I kind of entered the workforce, I was basically doing everything. So I joined into Gravity Media, which I was as a broadcast engineer, but it was mostly MCR, but also as a jack of all trades. If there was a cable issue, audio issue, on-air issue, streaming issue, ingest issue, whatever you think of, it was MCR job to do. And now, where I'm in Warner Brothers, it's not the case. But I am glad that I had 2 years of experience of doing literally everything. And now if I would want to join anywhere else, I have the skills. If I don't have full skills, I still have a base I can start on, and I can have an idea of where could be an issue or where I could start looking if I'm not sure. And I think the advice I could give to students is, don't put eggs in all baskets. Do everything for a little bit. If you have a chance to be a camera op, but you're not really into it, still do it. You never know when the skills from Random Tuesday can come handy. You have no idea. The amount of issues I solved because I had an issue of 6 months earlier, I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I had the issue again. I knew what to look for. And the amount of times that happens, besides the engineering 101 on off and on again, it's a lot. And I cannot stress enough, just learn everything what you can, do everything what you can. Don't stick to one of interest. It could be one that brought you through the door, but what you're gonna do later on, it could be something else. I came with interest in sound and I ended up in MCR, and to be honest, I'm stationary potato. I love MCR.
Thank you. We can dig into that later. I do just want to very briefly ask you, Elaine, because we have got to wrap up this panel after this, but looking back, what was it, have you had any sort of pivotal decisions that shaped your career?
Well, yeah, I had two. So I worked for Formula One management for 22 years, and I would say my two pivotal decisions, weirdly, are joining Formula One management and also leaving. So when I joined, it was exciting. It was, going into the world of outside broadcast, working on the front end of production, and of course Formula One. So glamorous, sounds glamorous, not always quite so glamorous, especially when you're rigging, you're de-rigging, you're pulling cables. Yeah.
And then leaving.
And then leaving. So
ask Elaine about that
after a number of years, I'd actually, because in between seasons, we rebuilt, engineering-wise, we rebuilt certain systems, and it was when I was asked to be involved in rebuilding the same system I'd already been involved in rebuilding 4 times. Sorry, for the 4th time. Yeah.
I am going to also have to leave the panel now because we are live on air and I want to be fair to our other contributors. But I think we've all had that moment where you've had the 4th time you're trying to rebuild the system. So.
Yeah, that was enough.
Yeah. I think we covered a lot in lightning pace. So thank you. I'd like to wrap up this panel now. Elaine on the importance of joining and leaving, and Andy on Marmite, and Anna on learning through being, and then getting locked down and getting up again as well. And then finally, the reassurance from Stephen that Ravensbourne has given you a good foundation. Thank you very much. And I would like, at the same time, to invite my next panel of speed dating with Ravensbourne alumni. Karen Benici, please. Imran Ramzan. Tia Shenton and Mark Risby. I didn't even say on air, but thank you for the whoops. Okay, great. We are going to be really disciplined on this, and I'd like a timer on this. I would like an introduction in less than 30 seconds from each of our guests, please. Starting with, have you got a microphone? And did you walk off with the mic? I mean, that is one way to steal the conversation, isn't it? Right, let's go. And action.
Hello, my name is Tia Shenton. I am a recently graduated...
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Well, not yet, Monday. Very soon. Associate Engineer at TechX. I spent 3 fabulous years here whilst doing my degree apprenticeship at Channel 4. My cohort was very small. There was 3 of us and my lecturer. So my experience was very unique, I'd think, having to see so much more than what the traditional course had to offer. We delved into different areas like cybersecurity and physical computing.
I like that. We can use computering.
Yeah.
Great. That was really good timing. Well done. Right, now we have the old raver who self-confessed that on LinkedIn this week.
I am an old raver. I'm okay with
that. Old raver.
Hi, I'm Mark Risby. I graduated in '92. We were the last year in the Chislehurst campus, the first year in the Bromley campus, so I got to decommission one place. And was it? I don't remember. Well, one of them, we were the last year in one and the first year in another. Anyway, I was one of the engineers there. I got a scholarship for Sony when I worked there, much to the piss-taking of my colleagues and friends. And then I went to work for them for a couple of years. Then I joined Boxer in '94, where I've been since then, so 31 years. I'm now the MD there.
Great. Next up.
Hi, right. My name's Imran. I graduated in 2009. I was in the Chislehurst building. I was in the last year of that building. And And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I did the post-production course. One of my funniest moments was one of the first modules we were on tape back then, and we had to do a 60-second how to make a cup of tea, and I ended up dressing up as Batman, hilariously. But Ravensbourne was really fun, learned a lot, and it was a great time.
Great.
Hi, I'm Karen Bonici and I'm Head of Production at Motion Entertainment. I left Ravensbourne in '95 and I was also at the Chislehurst site and I was a prog op, a 2-year prog ops course, so we were the sort of more creative side versus the engineers that were all seems to be working very hard. I've got great memories of Ravensbourne and our lecturers. We were given a lot of freedom, and lovely John Radcliffe, if we hadn't finished and hadn't got the kit back in time, we'd always meet him at the pub in Bromley, and they had a massive lock-up cellar safe and the kit went in there overnight, so that he was always flexible. He always had an answer if we missed the lock-up. All the tutors went above and beyond and were really encouraging. They let us make our mistakes, but generally I think everyone learned a lot, and pretty much everyone from my year is still really working and have fantastic careers. And I think when you get out into the industry, you meet a lot of people that have been through Ravensbourne, and that's really impressive.
And actually, I can't let us go without knowing this, because in the preparation, Karen did mention, and I'm going to say the word anyway, one of her projects that involved something about farting in a lift.
That was Roy Adjuman's project, yeah, where he did a short film and you get roped into them all. And I was one of the actors in the lift where supposedly someone had farted.
Excellent. Who knew you had that skill? But thank you for joining us. So we're going to move on to the industry questions now. But yeah, Karen, great memories. So can I maybe come to you then, Imran, if we're looking at the industry right now, what is the best piece of professional advice that you've ever received or you might want to give?
Oh, that's a good question. I think in terms of advice, just be curious, ask a lot of questions. Obviously, when you're starting out, you've still got a lot to learn, and you know we can teach anyone a string of instructions. If you write it down, anyone can follow it. We can teach that to anyone. What you need to know is behind why we do that. Why do we press this button? Why do we choose this codec? That's when you really learn, and that will, you know, fire you through your learning process and make you stand out from everyone else. So learning why we do things is important. Ask a lot of questions. Be curious.
Great. Mark, you've mentioned about now you're a boxer. What are you looking for when you are hiring or recommending candidates?
I guess when we're hiring, we're looking for people that actually have genuine interests and passions in things. I think we see so many AI scoured CVs that mean nothing. And also, little tip for anyone, actually, if you ever put a CV into an agency, when you get to the job for the interview, ask them to show you the CV that they've got. Because quite often they've stripped everything human about the person out. Yeah. And I've interviewed people, a guy came to us for a job, for a warehouse job, I think it was. And it wasn't right for that. And someone said, can you have a look at this chap for me? Because I think he might be, I don't know what it is, but I think there's something about him. So I got his CV and I read it. And there was nothing in this CV at all that meant anything. And I said, give it back to him. And I said, mate, there's nothing in here. Tell me what you're passionate about. Oh, I love making music. That's not mentioned here. What do you use? Oh, I'm a Big Mac user. I love Ableton Live. And he lit up the passion that came out of him immediately. And I said, what do you do? If I gave you a computer, could you build it? Oh, yeah. And he just waxed lyrical about everything. I said, I don't really need the warehouse guy that you're not. But what I do need is someone to build 24 edit suites for me. Yeah. Do you want to come on? And I took him on literally, and he stayed with me for 10 years. So, you know, be passionate and make sure that the real you comes out. Otherwise, you know, you just get lost in the noise.
There you go. Be passionate, and then you've got a job for 10 years. Amazing.
Be good as well.
Yeah, and be good at building computers. But Tia, you're about to step into this job market. As as kind of a student right now, are there sort of emerging skills and technologies that you think, I've got to really focus on that, I've got to be really on that?
So, not technically a student, I'm yet to graduate on Monday, but my course technically finished in June. So I've been at my local, my job now for 3 months as an associate engineer, graduated from being an apprentice. I think in terms of skills that you need to know right now, I think rather than like actual skills I can name, I feel like being versatile is probably the way to go. I was always really curious within my apprenticeship about loads of different areas. To me, I couldn't really sit still and look at one particular thing. And I found that incredibly useful when it came to searching for jobs. So I could say, oh, I've got a great passion in HDR, I want to go do this. Or I have a great interest in architecture and building things, I want to go do this. So being versatile in the things that you enjoy doing and the things that you can do, I think is the most useful skill to have.
Excellent. Okay, let's...
Follow-up to that. So, yes, I guess as a follow-up, I was asked to do a talk on what I'd done in my career a little while ago, and I started to look at products and technologies, and I always define myself by those called technologies. Stepping back a little bit, which I was forced to do in that process, I realised that actually a lot of the technologies that I worked on, especially early on, are gone. They're no longer relevant. And actually what we do is help people move between technologies. It's a people problem. It's not always, we're engineers. Sometimes we think it's a technical thing. And it's about moving between technologies and helping people make that transition and being flexible in what you say. So I realised that half the things I ever worked on no longer exist and therefore aren't important.
Yeah, let's move on about that then. So how do you stand out then? Karen, can I ask you, how do you think people can really stand out in the market? I mean, look at us, my friend in animal print. How do we stand out in the market?
I think for me, you really need to be yourself, not put on a mask. When I'm looking for people to join a team, you could have every credit under the sun, but if you're not going to fit with the team, it's going to be disruptive. I really want to get to know the people, and like you say, quite often you meet someone and what's on paper, it really isn't the person at all, and they've got bags of skills, and you really need to learn how to sell yourself. It's actually quite a hard thing to do, but I think if you sort of can practice it and get your genuine self across and always bring your best self to work. It is a small industry, you bump into people all the time, so you need to deliver all the time, but just be yourself and be open-minded, resilient, and sort of creative with everything, and just inquisitive too. And I think it's always good to put your hand up as well if there's something you're not sure about. Just be honest and try and make every moment count. And I think it's important, if you can, to really meet people face to face, not doing everything via screens, because you build a much better connection if you can actually meet someone in person.
Great. Well, we have that privilege for all of you for tonight. We are going to wrap up this panel shortly. I would like to do that by asking you each the same question. And again, we're going to go back to our 60 seconds or less, please. On, if you could go back and talk to yourself as a student, what would you say?
Make the most of every minute, even the bits you don't like. Just work hard and absorb it all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would agree, just make the most of it. I did a post-production course, so I focused on editing, but what I wish I got behind the camera. I wish I did a bit of directing, a bit of studio. You know, university is for a time to experiment, to make mistakes and learn from them. So yeah, that's what I would say to myself.
You're going to still be mates with some of these people in 35 years' time. They'll be your friends, they'll be your customers, or you'll work for them. So, you know, treat them well, and it'll probably be okay.
I'm going to have to say, be confident. Now, I'm a very confident person anyway, but I feel like in all aspects of your work, you need to be confident in what you're doing and passionate about that.
Okay, there were some excellent thoughts there. So will you please join me in thanking a great nightclub of old and new ravers that we've just had for that panel. I'd like to mention the thought there that Tia had earlier about being versatile, and then from Imran, being curious, always finding out why, And then also Mark's thought that actually have genuine passions. And finally, Karen's reassurance that everyone that she knew from Ravensbourne is still out there and has a fantastic career. So there you go, our fantastic group of Ravens. Thank you very much. We are still on air and we have another panel. I know you're excited. Please welcome to the stage, because this is a father and son. We might even have to sing the song, father and son. Duo combination. Can we have the Kerrs, please? Scott Kerr and Finn Kerr. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Hello. Excellent.
Hello.
Are we good here? Is this a good camera position? Are we happy? Good? Yeah. Brilliant. So I hear that this whole day couldn't really have happened without you both.
Not quite sure about
So
that.
I would love to hear your involvement in the day-to-day each, because I think you've been involved in the planning for the last 6 months, is that right? And then on the day as well today.
I don't know. I'm very easily persuaded, and when I saw something come up on LinkedIn, I've got a great idea. I was like, yeah, eyes. 2 minutes later, I've got a WhatsApp, and yeah, I agreed to it.
Just for a like?
Yeah, it's like,
wow.
it sounded
That's
like
a lot.
an idea that would either just not happen
Yeah.
or something that would be amazing. And I think the first meetings I was a bit concerned because they were all very serious. I was like, oh God. But obviously with Finley being here as well, it'll be a chance to work with him. So yeah, I've been helping out with a bit of the planning, a bit of the technical stuff. Not as much technical stuff as people like Kendrick and Russell, who've been amazing, but yeah.
Great. So and then you sort of had to get involved. So you thought, I know. What happened next? Or what happened today?
So today I've been producing since about midday.
Great.
So essentially we had like the first shift of students who worked from midnight until midday, and then we came in and sort of took over from them. And yeah, it's been hectic. It's been a lot of fun, but yeah.
Great. Well, there is a harmony here amongst the kind of the olive greens here. But
That
what's it
wasn't on
really
purpose,
like?
it wasn't on purpose.
Well, but then there is still a harmony, which is beautiful. What we all really want to know, what's it really like working with your dad? Or your
Apparently it's not great. Apparently it's not great. To be honest, we haven't really spoken to each other much. You came and spoke to me
Well, that doesn't
yesterday.
sound good, does it?
And I was a bit busy, so I just ignored you.
I think I've stood up for about 15 minutes in the last 4 hours, so I've not really had a chance to see Dad, but yeah, it's not really worked out, but I did, yeah. Dad was asleep in the corner with a blanket when I first came in, so I didn't quite get the chance to see him.
Picture. Yeah. So Dad was asleep with a blanket and you were working hard?
This is about 20 minutes before I started working hard. At this point I was only stressed out, sat on the edge of a chair, so...
Brilliant. So what have you really enjoyed then about being involved in On Air?
I've really enjoyed the collaboration. It's quite a lot of work leading up to the other universities' contributions, but it's quite nice when you sort of get that reward. You just get to sort of sit back for a bit and just watch, what they can do. The different cultures on display. I'd say that's probably been my favourite bit of the whole thing.
Great. And Scott, you've been involved obviously for this last 6 months. So how do you coordinate across so many students, so many globally, universities, time zones? How do you do that?
You let someone else do the coordination.
Great.
Yeah. have you met Nikki?
Yeah. that is like my biggest tip is find someone who's excellent at that.
I've not done much of that. I'm maybe a tiny bit around the technical, which could have been done better. But it is very difficult, I think, when you started seeing all the schools speaking to each other, and I think that's actually been the best thing, is there's these WhatsApp groups we're in with all the different students, like, oh, you did so great, and photos of everyone. That's been the best bit, but I haven't done much coordination.
So just happy to have people to talk to on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
Great. Okay.
I'm very simple.
And with the kind of, actually the roles that everyone's doing here, what's the sort of behind the scenes roles that you think people often underestimate and don't realise how vital they are to broadcast? Who is the most important person here today?
Well, as a solution architect, I'm going to say solution architect, aren't I?
Right, okay. But can they turn microphones on?
I didn't get the chance.
Brilliant. And let's ask you then, working on air, and if I can bring you both in on this, how does that sort of compare from kind of other types of learning? What have you noticed?
Well, I suppose it's sort of the immediacy of it. So usually when we've done live broadcasts in the past, we sort of rehearse it and go through it. Whereas with this, we very much just sort of arrived and then got our heads down and got to it with sort of minimal preparation, which I think is a very valuable thing to go through, especially whilst you're at uni. I think it's really important, or at least I'd imagine in industry it's very important to think on your feet.
Yeah.
So it's crucial that we get the platform to do that here.
And where might you see kind of projects like this evolving and being in 5 or 10 years' time?
I suppose more participants, maybe 48 hours.
Let's go for it! I mean, we're going to need bigger blankets, aren't we? Yeah, 48 hours, Scott. That's a lot of naps. A week. There we go. Let's be more ambitious. A week, says Carrie Witten. Just don't like her next post, all right? What do you think then? How could events get bigger like this, be more tech-driven, or what can you see sort of happening with this sort of a collaboration?
I would like to think that there could be a bit of a community that sort of grows up around it, and I think as we mentioned a few times, networks and sort of finding your tribe, feeling safe to ask the silly questions. If that kind of thing can sort of grow up around that, it would be fantastic, I think.
And how do you think there could be sort of influence, how could this sort of an event influence even the industry? That was really smoothly done, no one saw that.
Cheers. Well, I suppose it's building on what Dad was saying, in that I think by sort of creating a project in which like industry professionals and students are constantly working together, I think that could sort of provide a route in for a lot of people like me. I've completely forgotten the question, I'm sorry, but
no, that's great. It's just like seeing how this could build and sort of what you've learned sort of like today as well.
So yeah, in terms of how it can build, I think just sort of developing a reputation, sort of doing it year by year, just so students know they have a place to go, not only to connect with people within industry, but sort of show off what they can do and contribute to a really exciting project. I think that's probably the best way it can grow. And yeah, don't have much more to add.
Okay, let's do some lessons learned already. I mean, we're on the day, but Scott, you were involved in the planning, and then if you were sort of thinking about biggest challenges, what was kind of the biggest challenge getting ready? Getting ready, I mean sort of actually preparing for the project for today.
I said early doors, I'm going to stay awake for the whole thing. That's a really bad idea. So I've not slept since 5 AM on Wednesday. I think it's difficult with something like this, try to plan it around your day job.
Yes.
I haven't got many hobbies, so doing stuff like this at night doesn't really bother me, but obviously it can get in the way for other people. I'd like to see maybe even more student involvement within the actual planning next time. I think that's something that could be super valuable.
And what about something today that was the biggest challenge today?
Trying to get to sleep in the corner.
That wasn't what you were meant to be doing though, was it?
I was really tired.
Okay, great. Brilliant. What do you think then here? Biggest challenge of the day?
I suppose for us it was just the transition. So when we were stepping into roles, I think we could have probably been more prepared, if I'm honest. So I think that was definitely a huge challenge. But I think it is something we can sort of work towards should this project go on, sort of being more prepared and sort of more ready to step in.
Okay, and if we're looking to the future here with On Air, and we're advising students who might get involved, what piece of advice would you give? I think we hinted at it there about difficult to juggle along the day job, make it your hobby. But what piece of advice would you give?
Well, similar to what I was just saying, I think preparation is incredibly important for something like this. It's very difficult to be over-prepared, and even so that's much, much better than being under-prepared. Where you have so many templates, different unis, different countries, you know, anything can happen and all needs to be accounted for.
Great, and then can I get you both to sort of really think about the day you've had? And obviously you said different countries, different unis, lots of different involvements. Have you had a standout moment or something you just thought that was absolutely lovely or that was a surprise today?
I think I know what you were going to say. Estonia. I think that'd be mine too when we played a VT of an edited version of Estonia and I saw the stress on my tutors' faces. I think that's probably my favourite bit.
And obviously the day, let's ask you there, what's your highlight from today?
It's probably from the last couple of days. I think there was a point where we thought this isn't going to work at all, and then it just all started coming together. And that's always the best bit. And I think, there's been too many really. Some of the stuff the kids have done has been absolutely amazing. Sorry, I shouldn't call you kids just because I'm old. Some of the content's been amazing. Some of it's been a bit strange, but yeah, it's just great to see.
Strange. Okay, I think that's a good place to
That's
end.
great.
Yeah, I'm going to draw it to close on stage, but I would like to, talking of strange, can we please bring Carrie Whitten back in as well to wrap up the event? What some might have called an ambitious, maybe strange idea that became something. No, a very ambitious, a very exciting idea, and we've seen it come into being today.
Hi.
Hello, Carrie.
Hello.
It would be great to bring you back so that we can talk to time to our next.
Yeah, we've got a hard
coming up.
got a hard deadline. So,
what have been your highlights so far of today?
going live, definitely. Scott has very much underplayed his role. I'd like to just say that you have definitely downplayed your contribution to this project. You have been phenomenal. So I just want to take. You have, as has everybody. This has been an Herculean effort. No, seriously. I don't think I can get across. There is an army of people that have made this project happen. I think there's probably at least 40 people who have been doing Herculean things to make sure that we've got on air. And Scott's right. On Tuesday night when I left at 10:30, I was like, I don't know whether this is going to happen. And then he's right, just because of everyone's dedication. And if there's a group of people that haven't slept literally in days, and I can't thank them all enough. So yes, going live was phenomenal. Seeing the countries come in. When we first went to Brisbane, and that worked, I was like, okay, we're on. And then just the momentum. I think Scott was just talking about it, just seeing all the different cultures come through, the content, the stories that they were sharing. And, we're not done yet. We've got another few hours. We haven't even got to Brazil yet. We've got, Brazil, and we've got 3 universities in the US. So, and of course, important one, Ravensbourne, which was going live at 7 o'clock this evening. So we're going straight from this event into their 1 hour. So many highlights. But can I just reiterate the army of people that have made this happen, from scheduling to logistics to workflows to Ravensbourne. I've been counting up the number of people that have been involved, from students, tutors and industry, and it's 1,000. I've literally, the credits list, just look out for it this evening at 1:15. It's 4.5 minutes long. So I know, it's extraordinary. And seeing all of those student names, all the tutor names, yeah, I think I might be a bit emotional, Sarah, I'm not going to lie, when we get to that point. Yeah, so that would definitely be a highlight when we've got to the end of the 24 hours.
Well, I think you deserve to be totes emotion, to be fair.
I will be totes emotion.
1,000 volunteers that are bringing today together. It's still happening. How incredible is that? And 4.5 minutes long worth of credits. I mean, that is really spectacular.
I know. And Scott has been putting those together. I think everybody in the team underplays what they've been doing, and they're very quiet and humble about it. But it has been extraordinary, and I cannot thank everybody enough for liking a post and for coming on this incredible journey for over 6 months. And I apologise. When we announced this in June, I think we had 10, 11 universities, and today we've had 17, 18 locations. So I did keep promising that we'd stop, and then Scott would tell me off and go, please stop, Carrie. And I'm like, no, but we really need South Africa. He's like, no, please stop. And I'm like, no, anyway, so yes, I can't thank them enough.
Excellent. Well, we really have already seen so many spectacular broadcasts. We are going to be handing over now to a broadcast from the Ravensbourne studio. I believe we have, about 20-odd seconds to do that. So kind of on air in a word, please.
Extraordinary.
Tiring. Finn?
I sort of need to be back in the gallery quite quickly, so I don't really have time to think of a word. I've enjoyed it.
Cut, there you go. Cut, that's his word. Back to the studio. Thank you to our final panel. I'm delighted now to hand to Ravensbourne studio.
And I'm going to